John Kerry, President Biden's special envoy for climate change, met privately with Pope Francis today in Vatican City. He wants the Pope to attend the next round of UN climate talks, which are happening in Glasgow, Scotland this November. Kerry says he hopes the pontiff's embrace of climate issues will push other nations to help solve the climate crisis.
Well, the Holy Father is one, if not one of the most powerful voices on the planet. But because he is above politics and outside of the hurly-burly of day-to-day national conflict, etc., I think he can sort of, shake people a little bit and bring them to the table with a better sense of our common obligation.
The Pope has not confirmed that he will attend the conference. Kerry is currently visiting European capitals to strengthen cooperation on climate change. He says the U.S. produces the second most emissions of greenhouse gases after China. Joining us now to talk about this historic meeting is Dr. Matthew Bunson. He is the executive editor and Washington bureau chief for EWTN News and a leading authority on the Pope and the Church. Dr. Bunson, thank you for being here on Prime tonight.
Good to be with you.
All right, so climate envoy Kerry, as you just heard, he hopes he can get the Pope to encourage changes in energy policies worldwide. How important is this meeting in the fight against climate change?
Well, I think as the special envoy John Kerry reported and stated to the Vatican News, the presence and support of Pope Francis on a global scale is very significant. He is seen as a kind of neutral advocate for dealing with the issues of climate change. Certainly in his encyclical Laudato Si from several years ago, he touched upon the importance of a global effort in the face of climate change. And he is speaking, as he does, as a Supreme Pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church for 1 billion souls. So having him on board, I think, is very important, certainly from the standpoint of this conference coming up in November.
I want you to hear part of what Kerry said after the meeting. Let's listen.
The Pope is one of the great voices of reason and compelling moral authority on the subject of the climate crisis. He's been ahead of the curve. He's been a leader.
Does the Pope have enough influence to get world leaders? He has 1 billion people, but what about world leaders to tackle climate change, and how would he do it?
Well, first, he's building on a legacy that we really saw from Pope Paul VI forward. So that's going all the way back to the 1960s. You had John Paul II who was concerned about this, Pope Benedict XVI as well. So he speaks with continuity. But one of the things that he's also done is to make the Vatican, as we saw just today, the conference that John Kerry was attending, one of the center points for a lot of discussion on stewardship of the earth, of human fraternity, especially emerging as we are out of the COVID crisis. So Pope Francis has been, as John Kerry did correctly say, been ahead of the curve and anticipating some of the real challenges that we're facing economically that are also directly impacting what he sees anyway, are the issues of climate change. So all of it has to fit together in stewardship as well as the dignity of the human person that is one of the anchors or columns for Catholic social teaching.
And he addressed the climate migration issue in the past. He wrote, quote, "When people are driven out because of their local environment has become uninhabitable, it might look like a process of nature, something inevitable." Talk to us about his recommendations to address the crisis.
Well, I just mentioned that he speaks in continuity with a lot of the church teachings, especially in the last 50 or 60 years. That's important because the church has actually been sort of in the forefront of anticipating the problems created by globalization. Pope Francis sees the problems created in climate change. And what he's calling for, as he most recently did in one of his writings called Fratelli Tutti, is to look for sort of a common theme, a common approach for the world in solving this. That's stepping aside from globalization issues that are fraught with their own challenges. He's really looking at the world coming together to confront these crises. And I think as we saw with the COVID crisis, the more cooperation we have internationally, the better. And the church is poised especially to help with that. Spread as the church is in literally every corner of the globe. And Pope Francis, I think, has that relationship with leaders around the world who come to the Vatican on such a regular basis, as we saw with John Kerry today, as we saw even with President Trump in his time going to the Vatican. It matters who is Pope because he has, as John Kerry says, that moral voice that transcends borders, but also transcends ideologies.
Unity is key. Dr. Bunson, thank you very much for your insight tonight.
Very good to be with you.